real remarks. I'm just going to say that, first off, thank you all for being here. And thanks, Stephen, for coming to this convention. So, what I tried to do is make it clear what we've been through and where we're going. And that was what the speech was today. But I think most importantly, the people who serve, whether it's in healthcare or public services or public education, they've been through really tough times. And they've taken on the chin a lot. And there's been this relentless attack through austerity and privatization and deprofessionalization and polarization. But they are incredibly resilient and committed to the kids, families, and communities we serve. And that's what I wanted to make sure I was a mirror who reflected that back to our members today. And then talk about, as did Reverend Barber, what we need to do to move forward. And that's our Reclaim agenda. And it's both moored in economics as well as in educational opportunity and ensuring that people have the public services they deserve and the healthcare they need, as well as retirement security. And so it's moored in all of that. And I also wanted to be very honest and direct about the 2 or 3 very controversial issues that I think would come up at the convention and just frame those issues. So that's what we did.
So we'll open it up for
Comments?
questions. People have questions.
Yes, do me a favor, just tell me who you are.
Hi, Allie Bidwell from U.S. News and World Report. Given
You're Allie Bidwell.
I'm
I
Allie
mean, it is really kind of funny when you see, like Norm and I know from birth. We were separated at birth as kids. I don't know if anybody knew that or not.
It's
But,
an honor.
It's nice. What Twitter does is it actually gives you the face, it gives you the names, but not the faces.
well, it's nice to see you in person. Given the context of your speech and what you brought up about the Department of Education, how do you see your relationship with the department and with Secretary Duncan moving forward?
Look, our relationship tomorrow should be what it's been in the past, which is an arm's length professional relationship. That's assuming that he's going to be the Secretary of Education. But that's an arm's length professional relationship where he is who the President of the United States of America, and you saw when Reverend Barber talked about the President, he got a lot of applause. He is who the President appointed as Secretary of Education. And so our job is to advocate on behalf of the needs of students, parents, communities, and educators in terms of doing the jobs they have been asked to do and they want to do. So I would hope that it will be the kind of workmanlike relationship. But I do hope that the Secretary, which is why I said it, that point was for the Secretary. I do hope he listens to what people are saying. And frankly, I saw it in terms of John King and New York. The fact that he refused to listen has created a polarized, toxic situation about the use of a set of standards that was intended to actually help students be more equipped for the world they're going to find. And so I would actually ask others, what have you learned from this last few months and years? And why are you not adjusting when you hear this level of deep frustration? And that's what you're hearing in that hall. You noticed in that hall, there wasn't, there was a lot of listening. There weren't a lot of cheers when I said some believe that the standards should be jettisoned. There were a lot of cheers when I said what my position was. And so what you're seeing, but we want to have that real debate. And that's why we said, thank you. So that's why we said that's why the Executive Council of the AFT did a resolution in May that everybody in our membership and our delegates could see. And then that's being, worked on, I'm sure, at the Education Committee as we speak. And I suspect that our resolution on Common Core will come to the floor, and we have dedicated Sunday morning to education, and I suspect that that will be one of the resolutions that we will be speaking about. But the members have to have their say, and at least the venue of a convention of the AFT is a place where they should have it.
President Weingarten, Mike Blood with AP. Your sister union went a little further with Duncan. They said that they wanted him to quit.
Right.
You obviously had some very pointed words for him, but you did stop short of calling for him to
Right.
step down. Why that approach as opposed to the additional step? And as a
Right.
second question, are you aware of any resolutions coming forth at this convention on that subject?
So we had a long discussion, as, we've had all our governance meetings before the convention. And I actually said to our executive council that if a resolution like that comes, it should come from members, not from the leadership of the union. And so I asked people not to have the debate within the leadership in our executive committee or executive council, because just like in the NEA, the resolution came from the floor. If it came from us, all of you would be writing that it was political. And frankly, if our membership, who are the elected delegates here.
Excuse me, this is the operator.
Hi, operator.
Hi.
Where are you coming from?
I'm from Mars.
Right. Operator, where have you been all my life? Are we?
He must have turned them down.
Okay.
I don't think I
I
could.
think we should keep going. We got some
Okay.
technical difficulties. with
So,
the-
so look, so this is, as I've said in the last few days, it's in the members' hands. And they will, there's been a lot of conversation in and outside the rooms about whether or not, we shouldn't, what should we do, things like that. But I wanted to be very much, as I have been. Look, I've complimented the president and the vice president and this administration when I think that that's warranted, but I've also criticized. And so, if you remember back, when the president and the secretary of education said there should be mass firing, when the president and the secretary of education said that the Central Falls teachers should be mass fired, we criticized that. When the secretary of education said, was laudatory about Hurricane Katrina, about its effects on education in New Orleans, we criticized that. So what we're doing is calling out these kinds of things, but if the members want to go further, that's going to be for them to decide on the floor, and I think that is what is the appropriate role, given how close we were to a convention. Norman?
When somebody asks a question, I have to bring the mic over so that all the folks who are now on the phone can hear, so. If you don't mind. Just 1 second, so you can hear the questions.
Norman?
Okay. So Randy,
Who are you?
Norman Scott, I cover for The Wave in New York City. I just wanted to, talk about, you say let the members decide, but we all know throughout history as a long-term observer that the leadership can and often does give certain signals. I mean, I know, I could tell who's at the microphone and what they will propose. I could give a sense of where the leadership is coming from. And we know there is a big block from New York City that pretty much will be a solid voting block. And that will determine where any resolution would go. So, I'm not asking you to give anything, well, I am asking you to give something away. Would you, if there was a resolution similar to the NEA resolution, what type of signal would you give? I know you're not going to answer me.
Look, I have told, what Norman is talking about is that there are political parties within our union. And one of the political parties is called the Progressive Caucus, and I'm a member of that. It's kind of like the Democrats and the Republicans, although there are very few, most people would consider themselves progressives here. But, so you'll see, but, Norman, I know you don't believe this, but I have said, if members want to bring that resolution, they will bring it. And I have said to my caucus that I'm 1,000% behind any action that the members at the convention do on this issue. I think this is what this is about is, this is emotional. This is people feeling like the people who are our bosses, or the people who lead policy, don't have to agree with everything every teacher does, but they have to be supportive. And I think that what you saw at the NEA convention and what you're hearing throughout America is that teaching is a really tough job. And with austerity and with all of the changes, it's actually even tougher today than it's ever been. And so they expect some social covenant from leaders to actually help them, not to throw more obstacles up. And that's what you're hearing. That is what underlies and animates the discussion and the debate on Secretary Duncan.